Hello and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi everyone, welcome to the week of March 15th through March 21st. And for me, this is a super special episode because I am going to be talking about the new moon in Pisces. There are about a gazillion things going on in the sky this week, but how does the Pisces Moon podcast not talk about the Pisces moon? It's just not possible. So before I get into it, I'm going to do the usual mini deep dive. The big intense deep dive is over on Substack, totally free. I would love it if you'd go over there and read that as well. So I'm going to do the mini deep dive. I'm going to tell you a few of the other really important things going on this week. One thing happening is Mercury's going direct. Yay, because this is the second time I've recorded the podcast this week. Yeah. And then after I go through the quickie version of the other aspects that are taking place, I will do the sign by sign because I have heard you loud and clear. Everybody's loving that, and I'm happy to do it if that's what you want. So thank you to everybody for being here. We are moving rapidly toward the 100th episode. And between now, episode 86, and number 100, I would like to get a gazillion followers, okay? So I can only do that with your help. If you wouldn't mind leaving a great review wherever it is you're listening and doing all the liking and all of that, but more than anything else, share the podcast. That's how it spreads. You can do what I cannot. So thank you in advance for doing that. And yeah, let's get into this thing. So as I said, we're going to be talking about the new moon in Pisces, which is happening on March 18th. But before I go there, let me give you some of the other things going on. On the 15th, we've got a triple conjunction, which is Mercury retrograde, Mars, and the North Node, which you know I call the North Node of Destiny. This could involve fated rethinking that leads to inspired action. Okay, I love that aspect of it a lot. It could also involve making a decision to end something that's really needed to be ended. Okay. On the 18th, we've got Venus in a square. So this is a tense angle to Jupiter. And I don't care what anybody says about greater benefic, lesser benefic. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer. We use those kinds of terms. But in this case, I think this is really going to have to do with, in some relationship, including our relationship possibly with money. That's a Venus kind of thing. Our relationship to our art. You get it. I think we're going to feel like we're trying to pound a square peg into a round hole. So if you cannot, don't. It's not going to help you, and this will pass pretty quickly. On the 18th, the sun sextiles Uranus, and you know that's the rebel planet, and you know I love him a lot. This is shining the light on the unique, the authentic, the rebellious in whatever house is occupied by Taurus in your natal chart. Also, if you've been clinging too tightly to the illusion of stability, yeah, that's about to get exposed. On the 20th, Mercury turns direct. Yay! I know we're all so beyond ready for that, so roads will open up. Then on the 21st, Mars trines Jupiter, and this is lighting a fire under areas where we'd like to grow and expand. This is the energy of inspiration and activation. You writers, artists, content creators out there, are you listening? This is inspiration and activation. All right, now let's get into this glorious but complicated new moon. Now, one of the main things to keep in mind is this is a Pisces moon. Pisces is the ocean. It is the land without boundaries. It's the watery realms of creation. Remember, all life came from the sea. Each human life comes from a mini sea inside the body of our mothers. So this is that water where we don't see differences, we don't other people, that water of acceptance and creation. So what is this good for? It's also that place that you navigate better psychically, intuitively, spiritually. All right. So this is the new moon of spirituality, creativity, and connectivity. I love it a lot. Remember, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, the guru planet. So this is a really deeply spiritual week. And as we're setting our intentions, I want you to keep that in mind. This is going to apply to all of the houses, which you're going to see when I go sign by sign. But that spiritual component, and read that in the broadest sense, okay? When I say spiritual, I don't mean we're all going to be going into the work environment and dropping into a lotus pose meditation thing. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that the decisions we're making and the intentions we're setting in whatever house this falls in our charts, I am saying that we need to let our intuition and our creative spirit, let that guide us instead of the rational, the outer world, instead of the world of the senses. We need to be living this week through our intuition and our creativity. I know I've said that about 1,000,000 times now. Let me move on. Oh, the other preface I wanted to say before I get to the sign by sign is this new moon fits into a much bigger picture that's happening. I've been telling you all for months, haven't I? I told you there was going to be a war, and I told you we are entering a new age. We are not going back to the old way of doing things, and that has to do with that Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to some of the earlier episodes or earlier Substacks and kind of catch up on that, because that is all about dismantling old systems and creating something new to move forward. We are not going back. I really see this new moon as fitting into that picture, because part of what it's going to have us doing is really looking deep inside ourselves and saying, what do I want? What do I believe? What feels right to me? How do I connect with my people, my tribe? And remember, I've been telling you, Neptune, Saturn in Aries is all about smaller community, what works for self. Aries is selfish. I mean, sorry, all you Aries out there. My daughter's an Aries, so please believe me that I love you guys a lot. But Aries is self-focused. It's the first sign of the zodiac. It's about self. It hasn't reached out yet into the other people and areas of life. So this new moon in that ocean area, this is going to help us move in the direction of creating that new world that we want to live in, because we're all going to be creating it in many ways. We're going to be creating the big picture new world that we're moving into based on how we participate in the world. And we're going to be creating our own local, hyper-local, whatever communities. You'll see this is a big, big deal, this new moon. The other thing I want to remind you, we always think of new moons as being the start of the lunar month's cycle, right? So we set these 1-month intentions and we get really hyper focused on this energy for 1 month. And that's exactly fine to do. We should be doing that. But the lunar cycle is not 1 month. It's about 6 months. So this new moon energy is setting the stage for the 6 months leading up to the full moon in Pisces. That's what finishes the Pisces moon phase, right? That's when we actually get the culmination of all of these intentions that we've set. So this is so big. The full moon in Pisces is happening on August 27th. And what day is that? What is that full moon? That full moon is an eclipse. That is fate. That is destiny. That is karma. This cycle, this Pisces moon cycle is gigantic. All right. So set those intentions with the idea that, yes, you can get some stuff. You can set shorter term intentions and get some stuff done this month, but think bigger picture and think about intentions that as they unfold, they will lead you toward your destiny. Okay, because this is going to end in that big boom of an eclipse. All right. I think that's all that I wanted to say as far as the background stuff goes. Let's get into the sign by sign. And as always, you should listen to your rising sign. That's who you are. That is going to be most accurate. If you don't know it, then listen to your sun sign, and the moon sign is going to be more internal and personal. And so to get the most comprehensive sense of what's going on for you, listen to all three. But really, the rising sign is going to be the most accurate. Okay, here we go. Aries, for you, this is happening in your 12th house. That's everything that goes on in private or behind the scenes. So are you working on a novel, a sculpture, a painting, a business proposal, a mental health treatment program, whatever it might be, whatever goal you have that's private, or, like I said, happens behind the scenes. You're not ready to take it out to the public yet. This is the moon for you. So set your intentions for whatever it is, and then start putting those intentions into action, and you will see an enormous payoff. And you're one of the ones, because you could be working on business plans or whatever, not, writing projects, a novel. This is really one. What is your 1 month goal? And what are you looking at over the next 6 months? All right. This week, especially, let your intuition guide you. Okay. On to Taurus. Taurus, this is happening in your 11th house. This is group identity. This is really important given some of the stuff I've been talking about, where we're going to be finding our communities to move forward in the world. That's what this week is about for you, Taurus. This could be a time when you're setting intentions about volunteer work you want to do, or other ways that you want to be involved in your community, starting a community organization, joining community organizations. This is also a time to really set intentions that have to do with finding your people, fine-tuning, what you're defining as your tribe. So this is all about, remember I said one of the key words for this week is connectivity. How do you want to be a part of the community? That's all there is to it. Now think community however you define it. In this case, in real life is going to probably be where you're going. But if it's online, it's online, right? But this could be, being on the board at your kid's school, or, a city board kind of thing. Or it could be volunteering for the local library bus that goes to the inner city. You do you, but do it, find it through your intuition. It will be the thing that feels right. Okay? All right. So Gemini, this is happening in your house of career. Now, I want to say that for anybody who doesn't have a career, doesn't work outside the home, This will be how you show up in the public space. So this could be like a volunteer job, or it could be that you provide some amount of childcare for your grandkids, or whatever it is. It's how you show up in public. For most of us, this is going to be career. So this is set your intentions. Is the job you're doing aligned with your spiritual truth? Do you feel good about the work you do? Do you intuitively feel that it's enriching you and that the work you do is enriching others? These are big questions for you to be asking this week. I know it can be kind of easy, like, oh, yours is just career. Set your intention for a raise. Yeah, do all of that for sure. But this is also that bigger picture stuff, that I should say that deeper picture stuff. How do you align the work you do out in the world with your vision for the world you want to create and be a part of? Super important house. Okay, moving on to Cancer. Cancer, this is your 9th house, and this is truly amazing this week, because this week is such a spiritual week, and the 9th house is the house of spirituality. The ancients described it as everything that happens in the temple. It's also foreign travel, foreign cultures, higher education, whether teaching or studying, and that's anything that's not K through 12, whether it's a workshop, a certification, a college degree, whatever. This, though, being the house of spirituality in such a spiritual week, I think a lot of you are going to be really setting intentions or looking ahead to see what you want your spiritual life to be. What groups do you want to belong to? What practices do you want to engage in? Have you let your practices slide? Is your spiritual life feeling stale? Those kinds of questions could be coming up for you. And again, use your intuition to get through them. This may also have to do with launching workshops or taking workshops. Do you want to be a Reiki healer, but you just never got around to getting certified? Those kinds of things. Where is your intuition leading you? All right, moving on to Leo. Leo, this is happening in your 8th house of joint finances. You know, a lot of people right now are really looking at where their money is invested. What kinds of corporations or organizations or whatever? I don't have investments, y'all, so I don't know what it looks like. But I do know that a lot of people are reconsidering their portfolios and making sure that the places where their money is being used are aligned with their belief systems, with their spiritual practices. So in other words, I'm not giving my money or having my money used to benefit any organization that what? For me, it would be, animal rights kinds of issues and those kinds of things. What are your things? And is your money in the right place? The other thing is, this is a good week to find investors, like-minded investors for your projects, your upcoming business, whatever it is that you want to do. So it's not only about investments. You may be finding investors. This is also a time to figure out how to get out of debt. Debt is confining. Pisces has no walls. Pisces will not be, the ocean waves you can't hold them back. You cannot hold them back. And so debt is not going to handle this week well. And so if you're burdened, if you're imprisoned by all that credit card debt, this might be a week when you're really setting intentions about how you're going to change that. The other thing the 8th house has to do with is trauma. And so you may find issues of healing past traumas coming up this week. And all I can say is your intuition will lead you to the right treatment options, therapist, whatever that is, okay? There may be a spiritual component to the healing modality that you choose. All right, Virgo, this is happening in your 7th house of primary one-on-one relationships, basically our love partners, marriage partners, things like that. This week is going to be about really deciding how to deepen your relationship if you're in one. How do you go deeper? How do you really work on not just, a relationship that's fun, that's supportive, whatever, but that deeper level still. I know supportive is deep, but deeper than that to a true soul bond. Do you need to spend more time together? Do you need to, I don't know, what is that yoga sex thing, like tantra or something like that? Don't quote me, that's probably wrong, but you know what I'm talking about? That kind of thing could be way up for you. If you're not in a couple, this may be a time of really setting intentions that it's going to be no more of the flimsy stuff. If the people you're dating aren't showing you really deep, good stuff from the beginning, it's like kick them to the curb faster and move on, because you will really be feeling the need for that spiritual connection in these relationships. And it's going to help you as you, like I said, as you make choices. Dating someone who's not worthy of you, that doesn't go deep enough, yeah, that's probably going to end, right? In a good way. Libra, this is happening in your 6th house. And while 6th house means many things, I think for you, this is primarily going to be physical health. Why do I say that? Because the moon is the planet that represents the body, the 1st house ruler and the moon, right? So the moon is all about the body in the house of physical health. So I think for you, you're going to be really getting very clear. But what do you feel? I think some of you will be coming to terms with those things. Like the doctor says you're fine, all the tests say you're fine, everything says you're fine. And thank God for that, right? But you don't feel exactly fine. This is time that you might want to really in meditation, or you might want to reach out to different kinds of practitioners, holistic practitioners or something, and say, I don't want to be just fine. Not if that's what this is, right? I want to be vibrant. So what do I need to add to my routine? 6th house is also about day-to-day routines. How do I clean up my diet? How do I get on the right exercise routine? All right. So it's really going to be about setting those routines in motion. In Pisces, this is fluid movement. So you guys should consider things like swimming, yoga, tai chi, dance, all of those things that are fluid and moving and get all of your organs and muscles and everything going. I think this is going to be a really, really big time for getting very clear and very deep on your health goals. For Scorpio, oh my gosh, Scorpio, I love this. This would be one of those times when I would trade you charts because this is happening in your 5th house of creativity. And this is a deeply creative new moon. And if you're not an artist, that's not the point. It's about living creatively. If you are an artist, writer, actress, whatever kind of thing, if you are that kind of a creative person, this is going to be about deepening your art, getting into, really tapping into that universal creative flow, like channeling your art, channeling a creative way to live your life. This is also the house of children, so there could be some pregnancies coming up. It could also be that you're getting more creative in how you parent. And it'll be coming from intuition, right? Not like go read the book, go watch the influencer, whatever kind of thing it is. It's going to be, what does your heart and soul tell you need to do as a parent to be the best parent you can for your child? The other thing this is about is sex, y'all. 5th house is sex, because sex is the creative flow. So once again, I'm seeing some I wish I knew what that thing was. I should have probably Googled it, but I didn't. That tantric sex or something. It's like, let's meditate and, do other stuff. Yeah. I'm going to just leave it at that. You all get what I'm saying, right? Okay, moving on to Sagittarius. And this is in home and family. I love this a lot. This is about really listening to your heart, listening to your soul, getting very deep and real and authentic with family members. Now, this could be your parents and the people who raised you, the family of origin, or if you're in a family unit in your adult life, it's either or, both and, but just really getting into your intuitive self and deepening your connections with family members. Now, I want to point out in this case, Mars is in this house. Mercury retrograde is still happening during this new moon, and the North Node is there. So this is actually much bigger than just a new moon. I say this in this house only because your intuition may be telling you that it's time to have some of those deep heart-to-heart conversations with people to clear some stuff up. So this one especially, you may come to a place where you sort of feel that sense of, for us to have the deepest relationship possible, I need to say a few things. So be open to that too, if that's what you truly feel. Be true to yourself, okay? This could also have to do with creating a more spiritual environment in your actual home, in your physical space. It's like, does your house support the vibe that you want to live in? Or do you walk in the front door and all you see is the clutter and chaos and the, cat knocked over the plant and the dog ate the cat? I don't know. Is it crazy making when you walk in the house? You may decide that needs to stop and you need to create an environment. Start with one room. Start with one corner of one room and make it feel like when you go home, you go to peace, right? I love that. All right. And moving on to Capricorn, this is happening in your third house of local community, which I really love, given some of the stuff that we've been talking about. This is going to be, again, much like I said with Taurus, I believe, where it's happening in the 11th house, which is community, but in a different sense. Yours is your literal walk out the door local community, okay? You may be finding that you want to get involved, you want to join groups, you want to be a community leader, you want to go meet the neighbors, you want to have a block party because you've decided this sense of alienation that a lot of us live in our communities needs to stop. This is also, however, about communication. The third house is communication. So if you're a writer, this is another time when it's going to be really channeling that cosmic creativity for your writing, but we all communicate one way or another. And this week is going to ask us to question whether we're communicating authentically. What kind of intentions do we need to set so that we align what we're saying, how we're saying it, what our message is with our true soul's purpose? Does that make sense? It's also the house of siblings, so you may be sharing some time and deepening bonds with a sibling, or I don't know, multiple siblings. Okay, moving on to Aquarius. This is happening in your second house of money, net worth, possessions. This is your stuff. And a lot of people find this difficult when we're talking about all the spiritual woo-woo that a Pisces new moon is. A lot of people have a hard time applying that to the most material of all the houses. But it doesn't have to be. This is a question of how you make your money. Are you proud of that? Are you proud of how you make your money? Is it aligned with your inner truth? Are you able to express yourself creatively in your job? Are you making the money that you're worth so that you feel good about the money you make? But I think mostly this is going to be about how we make our money. Is it aligned? Could I be earning my living in a way that is more aligned with my values, that's more aligned with my soul's purpose? The other thing that's interesting, and we don't talk about it a lot, but second house is also possessions. So you may be finding that you're setting the intention that I remember going through a thing in a week similar to this one where it was like, I don't want any more hand-me-downs. I'm not saying it has to be new because I buy everything used, but I want what I want. I don't want to just have, the couch that someone gave me. So now that's my couch. I know it sounds trivial in a way, but shifting your environment so that it's really yours, whether that just means how you arrange your stuff, how you manage your stuff, having less stuff, more stuff, that can really change the whole vibe where you live. So those kinds of questions of the material world aligning with your soul's purpose. I love that. Okay. And last but certainly not least, we are talking to Pisces. Pisces, this is your new moon. This is a complete deep dive into who you are. This is you looking into your creative soul and asking yourself, how do I express, how do I bring out my authentic self? The first house is who we are. It's the body we're born into. It's where we're born in the chart. Our birth time and place sets that ascendant degree. It is literally who we are. But it's not either inner or outer. It's the whole shebang. The baby who comes into this world is both body and soul. So this is the moon to say, am I walking out into the world as my true self? Am I aligned? Is my spiritual reality reflected in everything I do, in how I look, in how I talk? It's so profound for you guys. So this is a deep dive and getting very real and very true about who you are. A lot of you Pisces, you're going to meet new aspects of yourself. I love it a lot. Pisces, you kind of make me cry a little right here. Okay, I think that's it. I think I got through all the signs, and I hope that's all helpful. Thank you all so much for listening, sharing all the stuff, and yeah, just set those intentions, and don't forget the long ones, the 6-month ones. And yeah, I'm just wishing you all a great new moon and happy Mercury turning direct. All right. So until next week, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. Bye.